But after I did here. Oh, good. I just looked at this. I'm giving you my steps. You got it. Still do. So no one it out. When it's lived in here. I think it's I want to grow. I want to go for I would love to. Last time I cheered. See, we've been had a lot this year. This year, a lot of Sorry, that's the thing. If you hear that. So the first questions were start here. Okay. No answer. It is the second question. And it goes back. Question. I'll let you know. So have the mic. Not the mic. Use it. If you're using it like make sure it's like this. Because I'm fine. Yeah. No, I mean I have you have to so it's real impressive. So and then make sure you're done. You pass the mic. Super gracious. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, so I did you guys hear this? Sending the back. You just don't point out this like we got there. All right, so take seats. We're gonna get ready. These guys are eager to answer questions. So good morning. This is the candidates. I'll introduce everybody. I'll say the ground rules, and then we'll start. Starting from the end. At Bulldog, Terry DeClue, Bill Hoffman, Tom Tibnan, and Peggy Woods. They're your candidates this year. So the way this is going to work, we have. And you know, as Emily put out, you know, only 5 people volunteered out of 205 residents. So, you know, this is not an easy job. These people are willing to do that job. So they do deserve that applause. And you're appreciated. So how this is going to work, this is not a confrontational thing. We're not trying to mean anybody. We're going to ask the questions that were submitted. We have various questions submitted. Most of them are to all the candidates, so they all get an opportunity to answer and get an idea what their thoughts are on being a board member. There are a few questions that were directed at a specific person. Then out of fairness, since people did ask them, we will take those questions. After we go through those, if anybody has questions they want to ask in the audience, please raise your hand when I open that portion. And then come up to the front here so I can hand the mics so everybody can hear it. We've got people on Zoom and they wouldn't be able to hear it to shout this question. So you'll come up, we'll have you ask the question, and then we'll let each candidate do it. If there's Zoom questions, Emily over there, Jay. Hey, can you monitor that? So, without any further delay, we're gonna start with the first question. Kathy, this will be just start. How we're doing it is we're working down this way. The first question, the second question will be answered in the other direction, giving everybody a chance to be heard. If elected, which position best suits your talents and skills? Secretary, treasurer, guard, whatever. Please explain your specific skill or talent, and why you would be good for this specific position.
I have a financial background. I've had it till actually over 40 years, so I feel that position would be most suitable to be treasurer.
Oh, here. Same question?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I've done all kinds of different things and I do have experience in small business and organization skills, and I've got a whole lot to learn here, but I'm willing to do so. So.
So which position best fits my talents is hard to answer. I have experience. So maintenance, real estate, a business owner in Michigan for over 25 years, managed various properties. So, there's a lot of different areas I can use for.
Being a teacher for 45 years, I figured that I can collect and corral. Actually, being a good listener, first of all, and trying to get all points of view before I go ahead and respond back. It's one part. I was designated treasurer this past year. It was a job that unfortunately changed its description through the year. And so I would put myself as the at-large person. And that way I can focus on helping any of the other team members with whatever they are doing, rather than them just by themselves.
It needs to be the last person to answer because they've taken all the good answers. I will say, I think I would be okay in any position because I'm a quick learner and I love challenges. So, and I'm mouthy. So, so I think I could do about any position that was asked of me. That's it.
Okay, second question, start Peggy and see, you don't have to be last. What specific area would you like to contribute or a special project task? Examples could be working on reducing waste, making maintenance tasks more efficient, reducing insurance costs, things like that. In other words, you guys have all been residents long enough to kind of know how things work here. And maybe what things that if you were on the board, you're like, well, that's something I'd like to work on. And be specific, but not too wordy. You want to pick the 3 minutes.
Yeah, this is gonna be an easy answer. I would like to help control the cost of the park, but also maintains the integrity of the park and try to get those to be together rather than polar opposites. I want to have them both, not just one. So.
I have a broad sense of what I would like to see for our park. And I understand all of the ins and outs of what's going on in the park as far as communities and membership and stuff like that, or people feeling a part of the program, part of the community. I worry about two very major concerns. One is Lake Cook and how it's disappearing faster than the rains can fill it up, which is that's the water level. That means that's our water for us to drink level. And the parks across the road from us have full lakes. How is that possible? If they're taking away water from the ground, if they're pumping it into their lakes from the ground water, our water levels going down faster because it's getting up. Or if they're paying extra money for it from city water. But nobody knows that. Second part is our front entrance is gonna be in the next couple of years, Camp-A-Wyle moving in. It's gonna be a disaster area. And we need to be seeing into the future, not just day to day, month to month kind of a thing. I understand that. I worked on this last budget that passed. This is something that's long term. Both ends of our place need to be considered and watched. Because if we don't, we're gonna suddenly lose our homes. And we're gonna go over that. I feel like this is my home also.
Why we got a problem? So my contribution, reducing waste, structural projects, management, over time, I think HVAC system.
Order my coat.
We're talking about, a new HVAC system in the clubhouse, which I found recently was replaced. Some of the maintenance tasks can be streamlined, various ways. The one thing I want to point out is the community needs to work with the maintenance staff a little bit better. There seems to be, kind of a combative, not caring, we pay these people salary. And, personally, I've picked up your garbage. And it kind of sucks when you're picking up 25 little bags out of a garbage can. Okay, it's not a fun way to do things, but, so with the maintenance staff in particular, we really got to work with them rather than against them, and, contribute, because each and every one of us has a part in making that more efficient for them. Rather than just going, well, they're not doing their job, no. Those kind of things I would like to see a solid change in, because they're an integral part of our facility.
There's something that I've been thinking about that I would like to see happen. Hopefully we can do this, is I know that it's a big problem when we have to have the water shut down. That affects all of us. And I would really like to see, but we would have to check into how costly it would be, is there's been some talk of having different stations where we can have, so we don't have to have the whole park shut down at one time. Because it's just really hard on everyone. And maybe if we could put lift stations in or something, I don't know if that would be beneficial. And well, I think that's the right for the question. If not, okay.
I'm going to control the costs of the community in order to prevent from increasing.
Okay. Next question, and we'll start with you, Kathy. Tell us how you have positively contributed to the Camp-A-Wyle community in the past, and how that relates to you as a prospective board member. In other words, what have you given to the community, and how does that reflect on your prospects?
Okay, test pool temperature in the summer. Socialize respectively with other community members, attend parties, and they're all respectful.
I've been involved in having some community events and, trying to keep the community connected. And, I would like to keep, I've been involved in helping out with things. I just like to be a team member, work with everyone. So,
Like this? Most recently, just helping out on road resurface project, running a piece of equipment together and cut back, so they're shoveling dirt, assist with maintenance as far as, broken plumbing lines, that dug holes in people's yards, so we could repair main lines. Mowing, et cetera, fill in where needed, I built the pool deck in the pump house. Yeah, I had a big part in, replacing the motor for the truck. The board was talking about spending $40,000 on a new used truck. So, I have participated, my knowledge about a lot of things, it's not very limited, so, I feel like I have something to offer.
Say, remember, it started paint sips about 8 years ago now, it seemed like, and some of the folks have participated, almost every year in that. In fact, the latest artwork is up here, some samples of it. And I'm one of the first people to get into the pool. And then I reported to that, so that she had. And I was in the pool 2 days ago, it was 55 degrees. I was without a wetsuit, so no. I've been a member of the social committee since I've been able to come down here every year. I have tried to make friends with as many people as I can, mostly in the community where I am, in Bobcat, only being here for 4 months, my brain doesn't keep everybody's name and address set there, so I wanted to start all over again. I tried to be a good member of the community in every direction. And I was on the board last year to try to help it. Thank you.
My husband and I have lived in this community, about 6 years, and I love the uniqueness of this community. I love the fact that everybody, when we first got here, everybody tried to help everybody. It's just a really, unique thing. And so, I was asked to be on the board, somebody had left, and I was asked to be on the board several years ago. And I was on for half a term, and I learned a lot, and I failed at a lot. So that helped me know what I wanted and didn't want. But I feel like, I've been on the, Rules and Regulations Committee, I'm on the Bingo Committee now. I've kind of learned a lot of things about how the money goes when you're on a committee, or how the rules go when you're on a, like, Rules and Regulations Committee, the Complaint Committee, things like that. So when I first came here, I was planting flowers out in front of the clubhouse, because that's what we used to do. The community used to plant those flowers and maintain them. We don't do that so much anymore. It just really makes me sad that there's more of a disconnect than there used to be. And so I try to stay in my lane, but yet be there that others need me.
For the board of directors to be effective, each team member must contribute their time and efforts. How would you categorize your ability to serve? Be specific. And when this question was submitted, it was a little longer, and it was things like, for instance, the board members, they all have to do their part. They all have to do tasks in order to get things done. It can't just fall on 1 or 2 people. So, for instance, Darcy St. John used to go to the bank 3 and sometimes 5 times a week. That's a task that she agreed to do. Huh? Yeah, and So jobs like that, I mean, it takes a lot of time. And if not the whole 5 members of the team are a team, then it falls on just a couple and it's way too much. So in what way are you able to contribute your time and effort? I mean, how much time do you think you can give a week? You can be specific or however you want to answer.
All right, I'm not gonna be specific because usually I judge by the task. If Jay called me and said, hey, we've got something going on, can you come down, and we need to meet? Yes, I will absolutely make myself available to do whatever I need to do. I used to go to the bank when I was on the, board. One of the secretary did it most of it, or I'm sorry, the treasurer did it most of the time, but, you know, when there were times we needed to do it, we worked as a team, and I think that one of my greatest assets is that I am a team player. I've got 5 kids, so I can be not a team player. Necessary, and you can ask, one of them's here, he'll tell you. But I also feel like if you're a team player, then, and everybody's a team player, then this is gonna be an awesome board. I mean, you will get things done. So I've got a wonderful spouse. I'm gonna say that one time, and this is the only time you're ever gonna know that. He's very, very supportive, and he gives me unconditional, time and energy, whatever I need. He's always like, don't do this. All right, that's all I'm gonna say nice about him, the rest of that.
I would like to say that Peggy, when you were on the board, you put a newsletter out,
Yes.
and I thought that was very, very nice.
I'll set my.
I also am a team player. I try to respond as soon as possible, especially from the other end of the country. And, you know, with the juice cans, the string, it's only gonna go stretch so long before I get it cut off. And I have done that, Zooming and all the board meetings and budget committee. I came down here for 2 full weeks and worked inside that office every single day for 6 hours. And the rest of the community needs to know that's how dedicated people in the board are to spend every single day, Saturdays and Sundays included, up in there working, get things done. And that's why I said at large would be better for me, because that way I'm not holding somebody back on something. I want to finish my job. I want to continue to work on it.
So for the board of directors to be effective, each team member must contribute their time and efforts. How would you categorize your availability to serve? Be specific. You know, I can be flexible. I have a very flexible schedule, but I'm coming and going all the time and I travel. You know, this question is kind of one-sided because it says for the board of directors to be effective, each team member must contribute their time and efforts. I'd like to point out something that's relatively simple and straightforward. Okay, if we're a community of 205 units with various people, various personalities, you know, it's a community effort to make this a community, not solely resting on one.
I don't work, so I'm available whenever, you know, he needs me and I'm willing to, the board needs, you know, my time. So I'm willing to be available whenever they need me.
I presently work full-time. Very soon I'm going part-time to allow me to devote more time to the community. I live alone, and the only thing that would prevent me is my dog saving me.
Yes. That's
Great.
If you're elected to the board, can you approach issues without bias, personal feelings, and with non-emotional output? For example, are you able to process violations against your friends or family? And how would you handle it? Because the board lives here. You're a board member, but you're still living here with the community. And that's the intent of that question. Are you able to put that aside?
Yes, I would. I would treat everyone equal, family, friends, even my bestie. I would treat everyone that.
I would also treat everyone equal. I mean, you know, it's a position that you have, when you decide you're gonna take this position, you have to do it to the fullest, and I'm gonna be fair to everyone. If I have to write my husband up for speeding, I will.
So interesting enough, this is actually one of my hot button issues. You know, I don't get along with everybody, and everybody can get along with me, and that should be okay. You know, we're not all gonna see eye to eye on certain topics, certain things. What I've noticed in the past, I've been here 7 years, and there seems to be a bias in how the rules are applied pretty consistently, and either we're gonna have the rules or we're not gonna have rules. If we're gonna have the rules, I think it's important to go, are there any violations, other violations of this sort currently going on before anything is pursued? And then they're all addressed, rather than, you know, let's pick this one, let's pick this one. You know, one of the things that I've been called out on is my boat in my driveway. Well, over the winter time, I've used my boat pretty much every other day, maybe every 3 days, depending on the weather. And as soon as I was done with it, I put back in the storage. You know, that shouldn't be an issue for anybody. It's not a hindrance to anybody's ingress, egress in the roads. But, you know, I feel like I've been singled out on some level on that. So, you know, fairness and equality is something that needs to happen here. I know, you know, another member that's got 3 cars in the driveway and they're constantly getting bombarded with letters. I know another person in the community that's got 3 cars in their driveway and they never hear anything about it. You know, so why is that way? You know, it's not fair, it's not right. If we're gonna have rules, let's have rules.
Everybody to me is the same. Everyone here in this room shows an interest in our community. And I would hope that they would treat me the same way I treat you as individuals or as a group of people. Having sat on the board and talking about people who have been brought up for a fine or something like that, it's our job as the board to ask the questions among ourselves. Has it been found that other places, something else? So one of the parts that as a board, we try not to do is to interfere with other people's private business. If there is something that is being done with somebody, it's between the board and that person. It's not the board letting everybody in the community know. So we do not share what's going on there on purpose, so that it's private. And to Bill's response, as far as knowing that he's been called on it, I've been called on things and I take care of it also. And I appreciate the fact that somebody will give me a warning saying, hey, now your tree just fell down, please take care of it. That's something that I need to have somebody tell me. I'm not here 100%. And that would be something that I would hope everybody would understand. It's right up front, it's not vindictive, it's you have a problem, take care of it. It only becomes an issue when you have to move it forward or it's been consistently a problem for the community. Thank you.
Well, since I have no friends and I don't like my family, I'm free to be unbiased. No. Ironically, I smiled at this question because when I was on the board, my son got written up. And I went to him and said, fix it, what the hell? But I'm like, fix it, it needs to be, I didn't give him a break. I could go, oh, well, somebody's just being mean to you. Because that's not how I saw it. He broke the rules, fix them. And so with that being said, some people will say that you're being, okay, let me give one more example, and then I'll forget. When, one day I got this call from a gal, I didn't even know her, she lived in the park, I don't know how she got my number, and she said, hey, I got written up, my yard, my trees are down, can somebody help me? Well, my husband and my son and myself and Bill Hopper, we've always tried, if somebody needs something, we try to help them fix it. We try to be a community. So I said, yep, where do you live? So I got my husband, I got my son, and said, come on, we're going over. We cleaned up her yard because she was going to get a fine that she couldn't afford. She was on a fixed income and she was really concerned about it. I am all about people being accountable for their actions, but I'm also very much, if I can help you fix that issue, why am I not helping you fix that issue? Why am I making your burden harder when it doesn't need to be? And so I will be across the board even with everybody, but I also will be across the board helping if I can help. So.
Okay, all board members have complete access to all owners' information. This is something that has come up numerous times. People are always asking. So how can you assure that you will not share information with your spouse and friends? That you have people you're connected to in this community. And there are things that sometimes have to remain confidential. Obviously, I think they've made it real clear that a lot of the records here are public information, but there is other things that to be appropriate to people that you don't share their personal business stuff. So that's the question. That's what the question's about. This usually comes up all the time. So how can you ensure that you will not share information with your spouse and friend?
Okay, if I am elected, I would take this as my job. And in my previous jobs, I've had to deal with a lot of, a lot of confidentiality and discretion. And so if I'm elected, this will be my job and I will take it seriously like I would take any other paying. So I will do my very best, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna always be 100%, but I will try every fiber of my being to be confidential and discretionary and to not let my emotions or my feelings interfere with anything else.
When I do have a conversation with the board, and it's at home in Seattle, Barbara's not even in the room. So it's not an issue there. Anyways, we're here. If she hears it for something, that's not me, so sharing it.
Yes.
So.
I have accepted that. Like your spouse, but, there's a difference between secrecy and discretion. There are certain things that, need to be talked about, need to be discussed in public. There's things that happen, need to be talked about in public, that the business meeting for the board would be the place that should take place. Shouldn't take place after hours or amongst, the community. One of the biggest issues we have in this community is gossip. And people making shit up that don't know anything about anything. It's sickening and it's devastating and it destroys the community from within. I can't reiterate that enough. Just because you see one thing and you perceive it this way doesn't mean you need to go tell 12 people that this is the way you see it. Because as that story goes on, it gets bigger, bolder, it changes, and by the time it gets back to the first, you go, wow, I didn't know that about me. So,
I also very strongly believe in the workplace that confidentiality, you have to keep it in the workplace. And there is a lot of gossip in this community, and I also have learned things about myself that I didn't know. But, I definitely know that what's happens at the office and what needs to stay confidential definitely needs to stay confidential.
I presently maintain individual files containing social security numbers, date of births, their whole biography. And I never let it leak out. I want to vent, I come home and vent to my dog. Not the reality. I never say anything. So.
So there were two questions that came in specifically for two candidates. So I'm gonna read them. I wanna start out, I wanna tell you guys, if you ask questions, you have that right, and we're gonna read it. But we don't wanna read it in such a way that we're not trying to attack anybody up here, okay? So understand that, that's not gonna be how we're gonna read this, but we're gonna give the person that submitted it the right to have their question. So, question to you, Peggy. During your past term on the board, various problems were identified, including financial records were amassed, documents were not forged, violations were not done in an equal manner, infrastructure was neglected. How do you propose to ensure things are better during this term?
Okay, I got this question yesterday afternoon. And, at first, I was not angry, just a little put out by the whole, I felt personally attacked. I'm just say that. And so I started writing my answer. And then I realized every answer that I put down was either putting somebody else, throwing somebody else under a bus with their name out there, or I was trying to justify things that happened over 2 years ago that I don't even remember a lot of them. So, with that being said, I'm not trying to sidestep this. I felt like we did the very best we could do when I was on the board with what we knew and what we had to work with. Now, I'm not discounting that the person who believes that this is true, that is so, they're right. But I'm not gonna answer that question, because like I said, I'll be putting other people, I don't wanna put their names out there, I don't want them to feel attacked either. So my answer to that person is, if you do not have the confidence in me, do not vote for me. You have 4 other able-bodied, willing people to take this position. I don't consider this what's the word I want?
Honor?
No, I don't consider it a personality thing. It's not who's the best, who's gonna get, the most people with the most votes is like the best. That's not how I see it. And so my feelings are not going to be hurt if I'm not put on the board. It doesn't mean I won't continue helping my community or anything like that. But, I just want you to know that I really spent a lot of time self-reflecting and thinking. And, I just don't think there's a really good, efficient way to answer that question. It's gonna be satisfying to anybody. So if you have the confidence in me, vote for me. If you do not, please vote for one of these wonderful other 4 people. And that's the answer.
Have you proposed sure things are better this time?
Well,
That's really what.
okay, I feel like we are in a better position than we were. It was very painful to get here. I did a lot of screaming and yelling, at the previous board, because I didn't feel like they had done things the way they should have been done. But they got us to this point. I think we're on a better track. I think we're heading towards a positive outcome. And so I'm just gonna get on that train and ride it and try to do the best we can to keep it going forward.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay, this question is for Bill Hoffman. You have been banned from the office for intimidating and threatening staff and board members. You have been in various altercations with members, even to the point of the sheriff being called. How can you assure the residents that you will not behave in this manner as a board member?
So, I'm not spend a whole. Earlier in the question and answer, we talked about confidentiality. The first instance was with Amber, previous secretary, who disclosed some personal information about me to one of my tenants. And I can tell you how that conversation went. It was very simple, very straightforward. I called her out on her behavior. As I was leaving the door, she said, "Whatever, Mr. Hoffman." And I turned around and I looked at her, and half out the door, I looked at her and I said, "Sometimes you just need to know when to shut your mouth." And I left. Right? Now, this was a disclosure to a tenant of mine about my personal information that was in the office. Okay? Now, not interestingly enough, not one board member, that decision was made, bothered to come and talk to me. The decision was made. There you go. I got a letter. That was that. The second occasion, I'm not even going to discuss because it's just stupid. As far as a sheriff's office being called, well, again, I'm going to go with Peggy's answer. Without throwing certain people under the bus, there's a lot to that story and a lot to the dynamics that went along with that. I just don't feel the need to spend any time on it, and I'm planning on moving forward.
Okay, do we have any questions from the audience? Come on up. Did you have anything on Zoom?
Not yet, I'm gonna.
Oh, it's like,
Go.
we live here, Tim. You understand, right?
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Paul. I like this.
Not so close.
My question is for all the candidates, and the question is, what would you do to prevent owners from renting out subpar homes to these poor people that are having to live in your properties?
I didn't hear that question clearly.
I'm paraphrasing, he said, and what would you do to prevent owners from renting out to subpar renters? Yes,
I think it looks like small homes.
Properties. For you, rent.
So, our price.
Property that's up on, not the property. Sorry, not the.
Subpar property, the subpar rent.
Linda,
Christine?
Linda, give me.
Yeah, you were close.
Okay, so his question is, renting out subpar properties to people for low rent. Am I correct so far?
I don't know about the little rent.
Okay, for renting, but okay, so, to answer,
Like holes in the road, would you live in the places that you rent out, something happens?
well, we have, the park has a protocol in place, for looking over properties, am I correct? And so we try to do that, try to keep those properties in good order, or as good order as we can. So I think that our only option on that would be to, follow our rules. And if it meets the criteria for the rules, there's nothing that we can do as a board. But,
You can write up the whole.
pardon me?
Okay.
I
Let me comment on. Okay, so
Were you done, Peggy?
Yeah,
the idea of being a slumlord is repulsive to me. And if I have something wrong with the property that I own, make sure it's repaired 100%. So that's my personal responsibility as the owner of the property. The park will also let me know if I'm not keeping my property up to standards, as the way it looks. from the outside, from front, and all that kind of stuff. So there are some guidelines already set in. I can understand someone going ahead and letting out a property to somebody and it's a poorly taken care of place, only because the person that is doing it is not in the park with it. They are somewhere else in the country and they don't know the condition of that place, or they don't care about that condition. And if they can get somebody to say, sure, I'll pay $500 a month for that, they'll say, I could, it's $500 in my pocket. And unfortunately, that's the way people are. And in some places, not in my case, but that's, unfortunate. But we have to go through a vetting system with our prospective renters. They have to go through a vetting. So we vet our prospective renters, at least I do. So.
So this is an area I know. It's unfortunately, as per county, they do not have any health codes or violation codes where they'll come in and make somebody repair a property. Camp-A-Wyle as a whole, including the board, doesn't have any authority to oversee how somebody maintains their property, like you were saying, holes in the roof and et cetera. I know there was one property, the electrical was faulty and yada, and it was just a big mess. And it was being rented out. Unfortunately, internally, there's not a whole lot that can be done. You know, my hope would be as pride evolves in the community, that people step up and go, hey, can we help you out with that? Or, you know, put some of these landlords in a position of being comfortable owning a basic slumlord house. I personally have remodeled 4 properties, brought up to code over and above what was required of me. The White House on Gray Fox, I sided the whole thing, redid the interior, and, it's a beautiful place now, where prior to that, it was the epitome of a slum home. So, again, I'm gonna go right to community effort and time and community pride.
I hope I'm understanding the question that was asked. As far as I know, like Peggy said, there's steps that we have to go through being a board member. And, if the renter is not listening, then we have to go to the owner and say, take that next step. So we just have to follow the steps.
So he was asking about the landlord. His question is more directed towards the landlord.
Towards the landlord?
Having those properties that are subdivided.
Towards the landlord and of the property.
Yeah.
And you're saying that we have no right to tell them what they can and cannot do, but as a community, don't we have our own rules? I mean, our own standards that people have to go by.
On the exterior, not the interior.
Thing I'm really looking at it. I've met a few, and again, I'm not gonna mention any names, but I've been inside these individuals' houses. And I saw how the property was, that they just took, not ownership, they took the rental. And I went inside, the place that's being cleaned, and I mean, just, I'm sorry. That, how could somebody that's renting out to that person sleeping?
I think that's hard to answer because I can't speak for everyone, how they live on the inside of their home.
He's basically saying, what are you gonna do with the land?
What are you gonna do as a landlord? That's information I'm gonna have to find out what we can do because I'm not really sure that.
Okay, well, guys, let's come back to order. Let's the candidates answer the question, not the audience.
But that is my answer. I think I have to investigate more to find out what can be done, if anything can be done. That's a good question.
Well, my answer is the same. We have to follow the guidelines. We don't even have guidelines in here about taking Christmas decorations down. Thank God they were taken down a couple of days
Shut off.
ago.
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
I still have something wrong.
We'd have to follow the guidelines.
Break out the complaint form.
Does somebody else have a question they'd like that? Come on, I know you've got things burning in your mind, you just wanna know about them. Come on up here, Ed.
Not Ed. Not Ed.
Oh, now, it's that.
My question is that we've always been a community that helps each other and does things like that. However, I've been told that I can't help the board. I I used to do the board outside mowing on the company. And I was told by the law that I cannot do it anymore.
That might,
Because of the law and I get whatever. I'm wondering, is there anything we can do else
Mike, Ed,
for the community as far as volunteering? Say like, whatever, you said, if somebody's property is in bad shape, can we have a committee that go to that owner or whatever and say, would you like us to help you do this? It's just something that is easy to do, but there's so many stipulations that allow us not to do it. And that's my question.
let me start back down here.
I'm gonna paraphrase your question, because I think I know where you're trying to go with it. So what he's asking about is in the past, we were able to do certain, members were able to volunteer to do certain things, roof the building, do mowing, but because of litigation and lawsuits and insurance, we can't let people do that. The board hasn't been able to let people volunteer in that way. But we do have people who do wanna contribute. So I'll make the question to you this way. What would you like to see the board do, maybe form a committee or how they can encourage the members of the community to contribute to help people, whether it's to form a certain committee that would do that or whatever? What would you suggest would be a good way to utilize all this manpower in a way that helps the community? Yes, come up with your own innovative ideas here.
Oh, I feel it would be an awesome idea to have any to do that. There are a lot of homes in here that need to be cleaned up. I ride around the golf cart and I'm bent constantly. Look at this, look at this. We should have a committee that would contribute.
I think that would be a great idea too, because there was a lot of people that used to help. And, you know, all of a sudden we heard, well, if you can't do this, it's a liability. But where do we draw the line? I mean, that is something that I don't know. And I agree. I think that it would be wonderful because there's a lot of people that live in here that can't get out and take care of things, you know, whether they can't afford it or they're elderly. And I think it would be awesome to see people do that. And I'd love to be a part of something like that. But without having, and I've heard this over and over and over, you can't do this because it's a lawsuit. You can't do that. You're going to get sued. If that's all that's on our mind constantly, that we're going to sue each other, we're supposed to be a community and pull together. I don't really know the answer. I would like to.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
Sure. With the basic community hierarchy, as whatever the board is supposed to be doing, we can't get involved with it. But if individual to individual, I'm sure we could probably come up with something.
You know, that the board, the board can't influence what one person does. I
Understand
mean, remember, this is what you've got to leave, this is stuff that the board is gonna have their hand in. And how would they do it?
See, and I'm not really sure about that. Would we have to have people sign waivers and would they be willing to do that? Because I'm gonna, we had a gentleman here and Ed, I've seen you help mowing. I've seen Bill, my husband has weed whip. We've helped cut down trees. And we were stopped and not really thinking, we're thinking we're helping, but yeah, what if you tripped and fell and got cut with a chainsaw? I mean, are you gonna run up Sue? It's just Sue, Sue, Sue. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, so I have to say,
People want to do it.
Go ahead.
I have to say,
Go ahead.
if I'm willing to volunteer to get on that lawnmower and mow the freaking lawn, I'm not if I'm willing to sue something if by my own stupidity I get hurt.
That's you though.
That's you, but what I'm
Let's
saying.
get back to the candidates.
Yeah, another gentleman, David. I think everybody knows David. David used to do a lot of mowing and they had to stop him because they said he was a liability. And the guy could drive a car, so I mean, he was a liability. So, I don't.
So again, having been a business owner of multiple rental properties as well as doing property management over the years, there is always an assumed liability. All of our volunteers here today in the kitchen could get burned. They could get burned on the stove, they could get coffee spilled on them, they're walking around, could slip on the floor. There's an assumed liability on any of the common element here at Camp-A-Wyle. Okay, now, on a volunteer basis, there's gotta be something available as far as this person is a volunteer, can we get them coverage in case they get hurt, that kind of thing, or vice versa, another waiver or something along those lines. And I'm not opposed at all to looking into those things, because I think in order to control our budget moving forward, everything has gotten more expensive. We're gonna need more contribution, more community pride in order to maintain this place, to a standard. What we run into a lot is everybody, well, the conditions of the park, the conditions of the park, conditions of the park, blah, blah, blah. Most of them either aren't able to do anything about it or are not willing. So we really need to value the people that are willing to do something with it and help them out and find a way to make it happen.
I believe that if we make the needs of those individuals for the reason that they have that need available, we hear about it, and if they want to go ahead and take on saying, I can do this for them, we would have to have some sort of a coordinator to make sure that the people who on the list who need the help, people on the list who are ready to help, can be connected together. But it's not a board issue, so what the board was telling people you can't do is because insurance policy said can't do that, or the people who are paid to do that job are saying you're taking away my job. So those kinds of things that's the kind of things that the board can. I believe that at one time the social committee did that. Nancy went around and she knew every person in the park, and she knew who needed a casserole because they were sick, home and dead, and she made sure a casserole was delivered to that person's door. So it's a possibility to have it done, Ed. It's just a question of who's responsible for it, and that's an issue that we have to take on. The board doesn't have that place in its job description.
Okay.
So that's where we have to work it. And my recommendation, first of all, would be to go to the social committee.
All right, are you done? Keep going.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything to add to this whole thing. It's all been discussed, discussed already. But I will say that, we need to thank the people who do the pancake breakfast. The spaghetti dinners, all of the parties that are put on, all of that is volunteer folks. I come here every single Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and I don't leave until 9 o'clock because I'm helping with bingo. And I'm not asking, I don't need anybody to cheer for me. But what I'm saying is, okay, now you're just me. But what I'm saying is, we do have people in this community who do want to do things, who want to be involved. I love bingo. I will do anything I can. And we make enough money that, can I tell this, that what we're gonna do with the.
Yep.
So we had a meeting with the social committee, social committee and the bingo committee and the board, excuse me, are all going to go in thirds to upgrade the shuffleboard. I have been in contact with Jake about doing the putt-putt golf. We as a community, there are people out here who are trying to do things and are trying to help. And if you can get involved in those things, that is a great help. You know, we were in here yesterday putting together, very poorly, a cabinet. And they came in to do the pancake breakfast to set it up. Those of us who were here just jumped in to help set up the pancake breakfast because that's the right thing to do. You know, we're losing, and I'm not calling the pancake people elders, but we are losing our elders. And love you. And no. Well, I'm just saying as a community. All right, I'm about to throw this at you. Go ahead. There are a lot of people who help. You know, there's not a person that doesn't call my son, that say, can you help me? And he's like, yes, what do you need me to do? He doesn't have a full-time job, so he's usually available. If he can, I didn't say. All right, he served the United States Air Force for 23 years. The thing is, we're talking about all the things that we can't do. Let's try to get involved in the things that we can get involved in. And I understand what you're saying, Ed, because we used to do that stuff. And it's sad that we can't. We enjoy doing it. We felt, you know, it made us feel good about ourselves if we were doing something.
The thing about it is boards, they were lax in their adherence to what was available to us. And I believe that as the board has morphed into what it is now, they're more cognizant of what the rules are, the laws are, and they're making it difficult, not the board, but the laws are making it more difficult for people to do what they used to do.
Right. Well, and I think, like Terry said, it's something we need to look into. Yes, President.
I would like to, we looked into it, and I already talked to Mark Small. He said you pay $23,000 in general liability insurance. That's what it's for.
Oh, so we can do it.
Good.
But we still need to check.
He got our insurance back because someone let it lapse because they wanted to save the park money. I think that might be where volunteer, you can't volunteer to do this or that because then we're gonna get sued because we didn't have live.
Okay,
So we
Let's,
need to investigate that.
let's bring this back to the candidates.
Yeah.
I think we beat this one enough, and thank you for your questions, Ed. All right, one more question. We've been over a little over an hour. Did you raise your hand?
I just want to clarify, when I was brought up about ban, I was mainly talking about the condition for this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even one of our.
Dave, I think what you need to understand is what they're telling you is you can't do anything on the interior of the house. That's right.
We have no purview.
It's everybody.
Yeah, but let's not finish this question.
No, go ahead.
All my sitting. It sounds like. The condition inside is bad. Is there a permit that you should permit from the house? Is there?
No.
Yeah.
Code.
If you see something and you want, and you see that it's not code, like the electric or whatever, you can call somebody. but we as a board can do nothing. Am I correct on that?
On the inside.
Right, on the inside, you start inside.
So a few years ago, concerned about a specific property, leaves the address out of it. We looked into it very extensively, as individuals called the health department, called the county building officials, et cetera. And all of them basically stated, on the interior of the home, there is nothing they will do, and there's nothing you can do. So as far as landlord renters, 99, well, 100% of that is between the landlord and the tenant. It's a business arrangement. If the tenant chooses to pay $500 a month to live in a place with holes in the walls and bad electricity, there's not a lot of, as the board we can do about it. There's nothing the county's done. So unfortunately, we're limited to the exterior. If you see broken windows, stuff all over the driveway, this, that, the other, those are all things we can address. But as far as the interior of the home and cleanliness of, how people choose to live, it's part of the freedom we enjoy, and it's part of the cost that we enjoy of living in America.
Does anyone else have a question that's burning in their heart now?
There's one, Marilyn.
I threw that out there on behalf of So
My question is for Candy. When your husband was on the board, and then he was not, or he was gonna be on the board again, maybe. He did a lot, he told the community he was doing a lot of studying of the documents, the, rules and regulations. Did you learn? Did he share that with you, so you know some of these issues?
No, he did not.
I will have sweet. All right.
So I'm gonna thank the candidates. You guys were good. You're good guys. I'm gonna give each of them a short, brief, chance to give their closing statement, their final bid to you guys as the voters reward. And then afterwards, we'll give them all a big round of applause, and we'll go on and have a great 4 day.
Mine's gonna be very short and sweet. If you feel like I can do this job and you have that confidence in me, then vote for me. If you don't, then you have a nice group of others that you can vote for. I will do the best I can, and that's all that I can promise you.
I want to thank everybody for the opportunity this past year to serve for you guys on the board. And continue to work there and try to.
It's Saturday, it's sunny, it's gonna be 70 degrees today, but enjoy the day.
I believe there's a lot of things I can be helpful with, but also you've heard what we've had to say, and if you believe that, I'd be a good candidate, that would be great.
My professional experience has taught me how to analyze challenges carefully, manage resources wisely. And I'm ready to put on out the time, energy, and effort, resuming responsibilities, be an asset to the board and community as a whole.
Okay, again, I want to thank Emily. Okay. And you guys, you were very simple and organized, and I appreciate that, very respectful. Thank you very much.